this page. All right. So there's the link. It should be live if you're watching this on Google+. If any of you here want to share the Helpdesk Hangouts page, you can. I think we're going to kind of limit it to who we have in the Hangout currently, and I don't think we're going to be adding any new people. You might hear my dog for a minute. He is going nuts. He wants out. I am having my roof redone right now, and he does not enjoy having people on our roof. For some reason, he's freaking out about that. He's a great little Cocker Spaniel, but he flips out when he hears stuff on the roof. And as some people say, the roof is on fire. So, anyways, let's go ahead and do some introductions. We might have a few more people join us, but we're going to be very limited on who we invite in. So let's go from left to right. Barry, we're going to start with you.
Barry Schwartz. I am an expert on analyzing facial expressions.
All right. And then we have next, who's that there? Oops, the screen just went blank for a second. Okay, Eric.
I'm muting myself. Eric Wu, lead SEO here at Edmunds, prior SEO at Spid Media, Demand Media, ET&T, and the #1 fan of SERoundtable.com. You should go read it.
That's my line, by the way. No.
Today is going to be trying to make as fun of Barry as much as possible. Okay, Michael.
I'm Michael or Wiz or whatever you want to call me. And I'm at Google on the Webmaster outreach team.
Sweet. Pedro?
Hi, I'm Pedro Diaz. I'm a managing partner at Apis3 here in Brazil, São Paulo. And I was a former Googler from the search quality team. And now I have my own business, and I help people solve their problems.
All right. And Robert?
I'm Robert O'Haver of Internet Ad Pro. I've been doing search engine optimization for over 10 years.
Outstanding. Sash?
I am Sash Mayer. I'm kind of a traveling adventurer stroke dragon slayer, and when I can't get any dragons, I'm an SEO disaster recovery specialist. I'm the guy who cleans up after black hats.
And we're going to go with Wissam.
Wissam Dandan from Daytona Beach, Florida, international SEO consultant.
Search engine.
All right. And John, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm John Mueller. I work as a Webmaster Trends Analyst at Google.
All right. And my name is Matt Storms. This is our 100th Helpdesk Hangouts. Thank all of you for joining us. We really do appreciate that. I can't believe, Sash, that we've done 100 of these. That's
It's been a few. I mean, I know we missed the occasional week, but a couple of years, not bad going. I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's we've done 100 of them. We had to skip a few weeks here and there, and we've had a lot of guest hosts and things like that. And so we really appreciate it. Unfortunately, we can only fit 10 people in here, and we want to be very limited and keep of what's going on in here like this. And so we're not going to invite everyone right now. And so I know some people are messaging me, and I'm just going to ask you to watch it on YouTube. And if you got questions, ask it on the Helpdesk Hangouts event page, and you can watch it there, and you can ask all the questions you want. And if we're able to bring those questions up, we're going to do that. So please go ahead and do that there. That's going to be the most appropriate place to do that. And so please don't think that we're ignoring you or anything like that. We just want to keep the flow of it going really quick. So for people in the Hangout, I will share for you in the chat some of the questions that we're going to go over. And I'm going to ask the very, very first question. And I'm going to point this to John and to Wiz. And I'm going to say, with Matt Cutts gone, are you guys lonely now?
We have all of you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having fun. I think that we all love Matt, but that guy definitely deserves a break. But I don't know. Maybe we need to give him some lessons on actually how to take a vacation, because he's like doing Ironman triathlons and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. So I don't know if he actually knows how to relax. But maybe we'll give him a little bit more time and he can figure that out. But I mean, even with Matt out, there's a ton of us around here working on Webmaster support stuff, right? So it's not just me and John, but there's a ton of people around the globe who work on all this stuff. So I think we're in really good company while Matt's taking his break.
I secretly hope Matt is basically fixing net neutrality on his time off, and then when he gets back, that everything will be fixed.
Yeah, so, maybe that's his secret project that he's working on.
I'd like to ask the second question, if I may, and totally set the tone for the Hangout. With Matt Cutts gone, how is Google even still functioning?
Yeah. So obviously Matt's had like a lot of influence, right, in terms of what we've been doing. But he has built up like a really awesome team over the years of doing all this, right? And so there's the Webmaster trends analysts, right, who you guys always see and are very public, and there's like Miley's been doing this stuff forever, and then we have some like newer faces, so you guys are probably familiar with Eric, and we have people around the globe. If you're not traditionally in the English forums, we have people in a ton of different languages, all over the place, and they go to events and stuff too, and do Hangouts on air, and then with like all the internal stuff too, like even just on the like internal like web spam and search quality side, like the people that you see on those teams, like those are some of the most like long-time Googlers and the most stable teams that you see, and you probably don't know their names or see their faces very often, but those teams are still going strong and doing a lot of good work on the quality side of things. So John, I don't know if you had anything to add about that, but I think that we're doing pretty well, and Matt is given us a lot of guidance, and I think we're doing okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just to jump in, I'll have to agree. I know Matt's is gone, but I really haven't felt any void, at least from my perspective, right? I think you guys are doing a great job of keeping the community well aware of the changes, and I don't know. I know it sounds like I'm a Google fanboy, but at the same time, like I really do appreciate what you guys do, because I remember when there wasn't any kind of real advocate or any real kind of transparency, and it made life so much harder because even though the community was a lot smaller, there was a lot more disinformation being propagated by other people that there was nobody to clarify it against. So definitely appreciate what you guys do.
Oh yeah, sure, and I think we really are trying to build that. So we might have to redirect some of the audience a bit. So if you're used to seeing Matt on his personal accounts, on Twitter and Google Plus, maybe make sure you're following us, Google WMC on Twitter, and plus Google Webmasters on Google Plus, and then some of us are more active on the Webmaster stuff on our personal accounts, like John. I think my personal account, if you follow me, tends to be more about just like random pictures that I've taken and that kind of thing.
Cooking, yeah, that sort of stuff.
Well, you never know. Whatever my personal interests are at the time, so, but I do contribute a lot on, as well as a bunch of other people, to the kind of official accounts, because then people kind of know exactly where to go there. So yeah, it's when someone leaves, it's always kind of a big deal. But Matt's gone on shorter leaves before, and mostly everything has been fine. So and we even had like Vanessa left Google a long time ago, and she was really involved in Webmaster Central. But the team continued on with her absence too.
Okay.
Indeed.
So let's move on. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the flow going.
All right.
So Matt makes a lot of those Webmaster videos, and I don't want to keep talking about Matt and everything like that. So this is the last Matt-related question. Okay.
All right.
All right. So Matt made a lot of Webmaster videos. Over 500 it seems like. I mean, there was just tons of them, and it seems to me like somebody would ask a question and they would get answered after a few months. Mm-hmm. And is there going to be anything to improve the response time and things like that? And who's going to be making those videos now?
Well, Michael's always made the videos. Matt just stands in front of the camera, but Michael makes them.
Well, that's true. Okay, so who's going to be doing the talking in front of the cameras, and then who's going to be recording them?
That's right. Oh man, I might have to get a tripod or something, and see if I can do both at the same time. But no, seriously, so Matt, what you were mentioning is I think the old format, it worked really well. We did that for years, right? Setting up a moderator page and sending in the questions and having Matt answer them. But when we started doing that, the world was a little different, right? We didn't have Hangouts on air and this kind of thing. And like you said, because of the way that we had to do it with kind of Matt's schedule and everything, it could be months before you actually got your question answered. And so I think the good thing is that we've done 500 or 600 or 700 of those videos, and so there's already a really good corpus of stuff, and some of those are embedded in our help articles, and they're all searchable and all that kind of thing. And so I think you can we've already built up a really good knowledge base of those questions. And then I think for going forward, I don't think we necessarily need to repeat that same format while Matt's out. Actually, even a little bit before he decided to go on leave, we're trying to think of should we be changing up this format? Because sometimes you just get in the habit of doing things. So I think for real-time questions, the office hours, this format, and then the office hours hangouts that we host on our side, I think that works really well for kind of what are the current issues and helping people solve problems, and they can even respond in real time, right? And ask those questions. And then I think there might be other cases where if we want to do a presentation on something or show off a new feature or something like that, maybe it'll be one of the pre-recorded traditional videos, and I'm still happy to continue working on those and keep my Final Cut skills from getting too rusty. So I think that's kind of where we'll go. See what makes sense going forward. But I would say the office hours are the closest thing to what we've been doing.
Okay, cool. All right. From that list, who wants to take the next question?
I have a question.
Off that list. Off that list.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to hear how can I get my site to rank #1?
Why is my site not ranking top?
If anybody asks that question, I'm gonna boot you. That's not even gonna be a joke.
Which is the next question?
You can always ask.
So the next question on the list is: do you see a time Google will reward sites that are using HTTPS? My take on this is I don't know. I see that Google wants to make the web safer, and it's we should not be finding reasons not to move to HTTPS, but finding reasons to move to HTTPS, because I think it's good for everyone. I'm not sure that Google is going to reward blatantly like that sites that will move to HTTPS. I don't know. I don't have any insights on that. Maybe the guys can give some more direction on that. I just think that this would be a good move, not from a rewarding point of view, not because we are rewarded by Google, but because it's good for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So I feel like I need to put on my so Barry can't totally tell exactly what I'm thinking.
Poker face. Yeah, exactly.
And maybe John will have to turn off his camera or something. But I mean, but seriously, like what Pedro was saying, like think about it in terms of your users and the security of the web and your site. Like, I wouldn't always think of everything in terms of, is this something that Google's going to measure and it's going to be involved in ranking or showing up better in the SERPs in some other way. But if everything we're trying to do is just send our users to a good experience, right, and a safe experience, so they'll just come back and use Google. So if you know of anything that you can do to your site to make your users happier and safer and trusting you more, even if search engines didn't exist, why wouldn't you do that anyway? So, I mean, obviously, in terms of anything upcoming, we're nothing to announce there. Like personally, I would be supportive of it. Like I don't think it's a bad idea. On there's actually like another, I don't know if you wanted to talk more about HTTPS now, because I think there were like a couple questions about that. Are you guys up for talking more about SSL, or you want to talk about other stuff?
I know Eric is an SSL lover of all things SSL, so I'm sure he probably has a couple questions he wouldn't mind delving into on this.
Well, I mean, SSL for me, it's less about SEO. I think I think it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a requirement if we wanted the web to go to HTTP 2.0 or the speedy format. We would all need to be on SSL to some extent, right? I don't know. I mean, from my perspective, I am definitely much in that same camp of security, privacy, and some of the really nasty stuff that people can do. Even even if we're on some of that stuff, there are cases where people can strip off the SSL certificate and like man-in-the-middle use still. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have a question, but it's more like I think that what you guys are doing and driving people to SSL is a great thing. But at the same time, I think for anybody who's watching, it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of business sense sometimes, where that slowdown or that cost, even though you're protecting the net as a whole, it can be very difficult for the general webmaster to get into the process of finding a developer who can do these things, and they really won't see an uptick in like revenue. So the more education you guys can do to simplify it for people, I think is a good thing.
So I think one thing to kind of keep in mind is that this isn't really going to go away. It's not that some user is going to say, oh, I have a choice between accessing a site in an insecure way and accessing a different site in a secure way. I'll choose the insecure one because that's much better. It's not something that's going to go away. So sooner or later, you're going to have to kind of deal with that and find a way to get everything secured. And I think if you want to be like in the SEO area where you're always trying to stay ahead of the curve, then that's something where gaining the knowledge on how to create sites that are accessible in a secure way is something that keeps you ahead of the general webmaster who might not know how to do that yet. And in a couple of years' time, it's going to just be standard practice, but at the moment, you have the chance to kind of be ahead of the curve. So I definitely take advantage of that.
I mean, my question is like, after all these developments that we have read in the news, and watched and everything, do we still need the Google motivation to move our sites to SSL? Like, do we still a Google benefit to move, or are we just, I don't know, is this the carrot stick in front of us, the Google motivation, or do we have like to look further and say, okay, I think our privacy is more important, or protecting our information is more important, regardless of if Google gives me a benefit or not?
I mean, I guess, I don't disagree. I think we're in violent agreement as far as the benefit. The hardest part is usually just figuring out how to sell it to business owners, right? Because I think not all business owners believe that like they even care about the privacy. Like some people are on the other side of the fence of like, if you're not doing anything wrong, like why should you care, right? So trying to pitch and sell what that, because I mean even in especially in complex environments, right? Even with very sound, smart developers, you can shoot yourself in the foot, or you can do something completely wrong with SSL, or you can alienate your whole user base by like throwing up a crazy warning in the browser,
Yeah.
right? Or so there's a bunch of processes that don't exist today that cost money effectively, right? So being able to,
of course,
yeah.
But I think the pitch is not making them see if this is like a benefit directly for them, but like saying, okay, users will start to prefer sites that protect their information. Users are going to start to trust more sites that have SSL. So do you want your users or your customers to trust you more, or to trust more your competitors? I mean, I think this is a fairly good argument to sell to some business owners.
Yeah, you definitely have the, you know, what Eric and Pedro were saying about, you know, kind of the business argument of it in terms of what users prefer. But then there's also even just things that can affect your site. Because I was thinking back on two examples with just my own, you know, personal site. I remember once I was in an airport on the public Wi-Fi, and whenever I want to see if the internet connection's working, I just open up my my own web page and open up my site, and there's an ad right at the top of it. And I don't run ads on my site, and so that was being injected by the Wi-Fi provider. And you even hear about, you know, some ISPs sometimes, right, that will do this kind of injection. And I think you guys were even talking about this on on a previous Hangout. So you know, when I saw that on my own site, like that really hit me, because I was like, you know, other people might think that I'm doing it, right? I'm serving up these ads or something like that. Or, you know, if you are a site that has ad revenue, what if they're swapping out the ads and replacing them, and those clicks aren't going to you? But if you have SSL, you know, that doesn't happen. And another, so when I switched to SSL on my site, so I don't recommend doing exactly what I did, but I was on a plane, and so I never update my blog anymore, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do a blog post, and I like logged into WordPress, and I was on, you know, the in-flight Wi-Fi, and then I realized, like, this is just on my own WordPress installation, and you know, I was like, I'm pretty sure that I just sent my credentials, like, just not over SSL. And so I thought, okay, it's time to secure my site. The part that I would not recommend is then on that same in-flight Wi-Fi, logging into your hosting account and trying to switch to SSL when you've never done it before on a plane with very, you know, an unreliable connection. I did bring down my site for, you know, kind of over the entire weekend when I was traveling. So, you know, don't do like mission critical, like, you know, stuff on your site from in-flight Wi-Fi.
So that kind of brings me to another question, which isn't on the list, but it's related to what you just said. So when you're on a plane and you're logging on, you manage to bring down your site for the entire weekend. How does Google view that when you don't put it back up until Monday?
Well, so what I did, so when I realized that I had broken the configuration, I did have enough of a connection to configure it. I forget. I think I might have just done this in htaccess or something really quick and dirty. But I basically returned a 503 for every request to my site. So that just says, hey, Google, there's like some sort of like temporary thing going on with the site right now. Like, just check back later. So that that's better than if you would serve like a 200 or something, and then the error page gets indexed. And so we see these intermittent things quite a bit, and we do retry a lot. I mean, even when like if something 404s or something like that, we'll keep trying back to see if that comes back. So I don't know, John, if you had anything to add to that, or anyone else on kind of best practices for that, but I just threw up a 503.
John's on his head. Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm analyzing this. So if you want to analyze John's facial expressions, this means yes.
John's got a great poker face.
All right, so Barry has been over here climbing up the walls, wanting to ask questions, and so we're going to let Barry ask one question from the list. You can ask one. Pick any one you want. You contribute yourself.
All right, I'm not going to ask the question about was there an update or what's with the Google Sandbox, because Google Press already shot me down on that. And we all know what John was saying when he was moving his head back and forth. So the question I have is, let's go with the easy one first, and I'll give you time for asking another one later.
Easy one first.
Yes, Flash. So you guys have that new Flash warning. You said it's for unsupported devices as well. What other unsupported devices does it show for, or is it only showing for Flash right now?
Oh, other unsupported technologies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I mean so right now we're showing it for Flash, right? Because that has, I mean, that was the biggest issue, right? Like, Flash is a very popular technology. It's on a bunch of sites, and it served us well for a long time, right? There was like a time when most web browsers had Flash installed, right? And you could pretty much count on that, right? But then basically starting in 2007 or so, right, when people started using the internet a lot more on their phones, and it was becoming more of a mainstream thing. Now it's becoming an issue. So I don't think the point of that update is about Flash specifically. It's more of, you should think about, does your site work on a mobile device or not, or because when we're sending people, and if we know what device they're on, right, if we know that they're on a smartphone or a tablet, and we're pretty sure that the site's not going to work for them, like, that's not really an ideal user experience, right? So, I mean, there's other things that, I think that the question is about, Java applets, and, there's Silverlight, and, other kinds of things. So, I wouldn't rule out adding additional technologies in the future to that list.
So it's currently only Flash, right, this second?
As far as I know, I've only seen it for Flash.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, I think Wissam's got a question here.
Yeah, okay. I think, because I deal with a lot of international, non-TLDs, and the knowledge graph that's targeted, that appears for queries like Ford Explorer or these kind of queries where they list the prices and all that, and some other actual knowledge graph that would not appear on, let's say, the Brazil or the Saudi Arabia or even the .com.lb. I mean, the question is, what should we do? I know because the information is quite different for the .com and for Ford Explorer and .com.sa, which is Saudi Arabia. What's the future of knowledge graph in these areas over there? I know people over here are very satisfied with it. They're happy to see the answers and all that. But for the region, for other than the .com, what's the future for it?
Mm-hmm. I think that the rollout of knowledge graph to other countries. I mean, we have to make sure that the quality is really good, right, before you launch there, and figuring out what all the entities are and how you connect all of those, and do you have enough support in that language for it to really be useful? So that's not something that I have a ton of insight into. I don't do a ton of work on that side of things, but I think you can kind of see the trend, right, of where things are going there. So in terms of the specific markets, I don't even know, so I'm not even trying to not answer that question. But it wouldn't be surprising if that happens, just as the quality gets better.
So by us making, marking up the content, we control a lot of publishers over there, or help by doing either, speaking event, whatever. By just marking up the content, it will help Google get these answers right? Or do we need to tell them to do more?
Yeah, I talked to some of the people who are working on the knowledge graph here, and they'd really love to see sites use things like schema.org markup, even for things that aren't used as rich snippets at the moment. So really making it a lot easier for any kind of system that's accessing the web to actually understand the concepts behind these pages. That's something that they find really interesting. I also talked with Dwayne Forster from Bing in London a while back about that. He was also really a big fan of schema.org and saying, hey, everyone should mark up everything on their pages, because that just makes it so much easier for anyone to extract the entities and the concepts behind those pages. So that's definitely something you could do. I think that's something you'd be doing more with like a long-term outlook, though. It's not that you mark up your pages and tomorrow you're going to rank #1, but in the long run, the more information we can pull out of those pages, the easier it is for us to understand them, and the easier it is to understand the entities behind that and the concepts, all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like it can't hurt, right, adding more markup. And so if you are creating a new template for some new type of content, why not mark up whatever kind of entities are there, because you don't know what specialty searches or other kind of features might or apps maybe not even traditional search engines might have to use that data for at some point in the future. And it's even kind of like a chicken and an egg kind of problem, right? Like if you just wait until there's a rich snippets feature, but nobody's marking up their pages with it, then how can we launch that feature with good coverage and that kind of thing? So, I would say, like, if you can do it in terms of when you're setting up the infrastructure of your site, like, why not?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think Eric's next. Actually, before Eric, sorry, Eric. Wiz, do you have any questions for us?
Any questions for you?
How about you think about that while we talk about the next one, and then
Let's
you can
do
come
that.
back to it.
I like that.
My question really is around kind of mobile search. Definitely the talk about responsive has been around for a few years, but it really seems that Google's really picked up on the changes in mobile organic search, like especially around just filtering or even adding deep linking support into Android. From your perspective, can you give advice to like webmasters around what they should be thinking about over the next 6 to 9 months, especially around mobile and how they think about SEO? I know that mobile is definitely one of those growing things, right? The last company I was at, Spin and Vibe, the entertainment side of things, the 60% of our traffic was organic or was on mobile. And although some industries it's a little bit slower, like 30 or 40%, that seems to be picking up at a rapid pace. So wondering if you had any thoughts around there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm just going off the top of my head here with like things that come to mind when you say mobile. Like, I think you can see with some of our recent updates and kind of how we're talking about things. It's really like user experience focused, right? Like, is this going to annoy users, or is it going to make them happy, right? So it's not just a black and white, like, is this like spam or not spam kind of thing, right? It's more of is this going to work on the device? Is it going to have this annoying interstitial that begs you to download an app, and users hate that, or is it doing things in an elegant way? And as you're creating new sites, I mean, you can also there's all sorts of things to think about if you have separate mobile and desktop URLs, and making sure that you tell search engines about those properly. But I mean, the nice things about new pages is you kind of can bypass all that if you just go with responsive web design, and that also opens it up to working on all these devices that you have no idea what's coming out next. Right now, there's all the the Wear stuff, and who knows what other companies are going to be doing in terms of devices. And so it's kind of nice to start thinking about your content a bit independent of the the actual layout of the page. So I'd say it kind of is, as much as you can make your content flexible in that sense as well. And I think even the the markup kind of stuff, if you're into like if your system sends emails or that kind of thing, I think there's some post somewhere on like a Gmail blog or something about how you can kind of mark up your emails, and you could imagine in the future that working with things like Google Now and that kind of stuff, restaurant reservation or whatever showing up. So those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about when it comes to mobile. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Anything else that you're seeing in terms of trends with mobile?
So I guess one thing, or maybe two things. Well, first of all, I think there are already a lot of people who are using mobile as their primary internet device. There's some statistics, I think, from last year out there where it's like a double-digit percentage of users already in developed markets that are using a smartphone as their primary internet device. So these are people who aren't using their laptops, who aren't using tablets, who aren't using big displays, and they just want to do everything that a normal user can do on their smartphones. So that's something where if your website doesn't work on mobile, they're going to take a look at it once, and they're going to ignore you for the rest of the time that they're online. So these are people that you probably won't even see in your analytics where you say, oh, it looks like 50% of my users are on smartphone, therefore I should make a smartphone-friendly site. But rather, if your site doesn't work on smartphone, you're not going to have 50% of the users who are actually using it on a smartphone, because they'll just jump off and do something else. And the other thing to keep in mind is that in the developing areas where internet penetration isn't that high yet, their primary device is going to be a smartphone or a small mobile device. They're not going to have laptops. They're not going to have desktops. When they access the internet for the first time, they're going to use a smartphone. And if your sites don't work there, then you've essentially blocked the next billions of users from even going to your service and being able to give you money, for example.
Yeah, and even in like the U.S. And in places where we do have a lot of existing internet penetration, remember that we're all kind of strange in that we all have jobs where we work at computers, with keyboards and mice all day, and most people aren't actually that tied to that kind of computing device. And so talk to people who aren't in the technology industry and ask them, how much they use their a traditional laptop versus a tablet or a phone, and you might be surprised because you're probably used to being like way ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. But I think sometimes we can be a little behind in terms of the actual use case of things. And so I'm just thinking about my family, for example. They go to their phones for everything, whereas I always want the laptop because I always think it's probably not going to work as well on the phone, and I like having a keyboard. But not everyone thinks like that.
I'm always tied in myself. I actually just the other day installed remote desktop for my phone for Google Chrome, which I don't know if any of you else have that as well, but it's pretty freaking cool. Just saying.
That's cool. I haven't tried that.
It works really great for the Chromebook, believe it or not, and for my Mac. So I was like, this is awesome. So, anyways, okay, Wiz, if you thought up a question for us.
Yeah, I guess if I can take advantage of this to kind of get your feedback on stuff. So, we talked earlier about kind of how we're trying to get more involved in things like Google Plus and Twitter and these Hangouts. Like, what types of things do you want to see from us? What would you like to see us try? What would work for you if you want to either keep up with news in terms of what's going on our side of things, or if you have specific questions and want to get problem solved, what do you want that flow to be like? Basically, like, what's working with all of these different things that we have in kind of the world of Webmaster Central? Because I feel like we've built up a lot of different things over the years, from the YouTube channel to Google Plus, Twitter, the main Webmaster Central site, Webmaster Tools. There's all these things going on. What's working, and like, where should we be spending our time?
So I think we need a list of every single change you make, both UI as well as algorithmically in the back end to the search engine.
We blogged about that for like a year.
Nah, you did, and you stopped. But you said because only people like me enjoyed it.
Yeah, Barry was on high sugar. Whoa!
Yeah. I mean, with those kind of things, you have to think about, like, it can be interesting, right, and kind of fun to talk about that stuff. But you also have to think about, like, is it actually giving people any useful information that is kind of actionable and they can use to make better sites, or is it just, oh, here's how we're measuring this type of thing, or doing better on this kind of query. So I mean, I see how it's interesting. I wouldn't be against bringing it back someday, but
not so much that, but like, if I see a bunch of people complaining and you guys say nothing's going on or no comment, that's not really helpful for the community.
Barry, you want to take away all of our fun?
It's about fun? No.
So one of the things I personally would like to see, and I've made comments about this in the past, is Google Analytics is so robust. There's so much in there. And it seems to me like, you can get so many different views and data, interpretations in there. I would love to see more of that in Google Webmaster Tools. I would like to see Google Webmaster Tools more like analytics in the aspect of where I could see all kinds of data and things like that. And I know that the data is available. It's just not open to everyone. And hopefully, and I have the belief that one day it could be open. And that's something I
have a dream.
I have a dream!
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I hear you there on that feedback. So I mean, nothing to. That's good to know.
Right. I'm actually going to go down the what works road, because I speak to an awful lot of people, and I figure everybody else is going to have really good suggestions. So you might as well get it from me. As far as what's working is concerned, the office hours. Everybody I point towards them, everybody I speak to, the feedback is exceedingly positive. It's really. I also hear a lot of complaints about how Google is not transparent enough. They are keeping secrets from us. hear all that,
Oh,
but
Barry.
on
That's just Barry.
the whole, that approachability, the approachability of like John in the Hangouts, and you guys being seen out front, has served a huge amount to actually really foster the idea that Google is far more transparent now than it was, say, even a year ago. You know.
Awesome. Yeah, John's great in those Hangouts. Yeah, I was thinking about in terms of transparency, like how crazy would it have been just a few years ago to think about something like the manual actions viewer and that actually existing, right? So it's yeah, we like it. Sometimes takes us a little while, but we like doing these kinds of things.
All right, cool. Robert, I think you have the next question.
Is there any up-and-coming updates to Google Webmaster Tools that you can talk about?
John?
Well, we just launched some really neat stuff with the hreflang tester. I don't know if you tried that out. For international websites, that's really awesome. And the robots text testing tool, that's something that I thought was really neat in the sense that you can finally see which line in your robots.txt file is blocking something, whereas in the past you're like, oh, this is blocked. If you have a bigger robots.txt file, you're like, I have no idea where this is getting blocked. And now that's a lot easier. So those are, I guess, two of the more recent changes we've made there. I know the team is busy, so I wouldn't expect it to stay static for a long time. And there are definitely things that they're working on which are going to be cool. And there are definitely smaller changes which are coming along the way, which people might not notice as much because they're not so much in the limelight. But there's always stuff happening.
Yeah, and I hope you've noticed the kind of speed of the updates recently. I mean, like fetch and render, was a recent thing as well. Like, I think it's the product is actively being developed. It's not abandoned.
Outstanding. Okay, Sash, I think you had one, and then we'll have one for. I think we have time for 2 more questions. Sash, go ahead.
Right. Okay. Well, the question on the sheet is actually how much quality is there in affiliate sites? I kind of take that to read. Is there actually any quality to be found in affiliate sites overall, and has their quality improved in light of recent years' developments?
Is that question directed at me?
I'll throw that at anybody that would care to address it.
So, I mean, I think if you say, I'm not sure how I like the term affiliate sites, right? Because it's talking about just the revenue model of a site, right? So it's kind of like talking about ad sites, right? So if your site is really just all about getting that affiliate revenue by any means possible, and there's not some other compelling reason to get users on that site that would make them want to visit that site instead of going directly to the merchant, that's where you get into the thin affiliate space and kind of low quality stuff. But I think there are some sites that do offer really good value that happen to monetize with affiliate links, right? So there's a really good review site called The Wirecutter, right? And they have a companion site called The Sweet Home, and they're kind of like Consumer Reports kind of review site, and it's not just an automated aggregator. They do their own testing and that kind of thing, and they'll also read other reviews, and that's something that I've personally found useful and have bought products from that. And I've clicked on the link, and of course I always know when something's an affiliate link or not, just because I see that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like I was searching for a product and that page, tricked Google into ranking it highly, and I clicked on that, and then I had to click on buy, and then I was on, Amazon or whatever, and bought the item. So I think it's really all about, what kind of user experience, do you offer, and are you providing some sort of a unique value that would make people happy that they landed on that site, instead of feeling tricked or something like that.
So some time ago, I did a talk here in Brazil about how to be an affiliate and survive in Google. And one of the topics that I pointed out was exactly that one. Like, it's not enough that you offer exactly the same thing that is in the merchant site as if you are an affiliate. You have to provide a unique experience or a unique value proposition. Like, for example, I gave the example, I think Hipmunk is a good example of the site that sells airline tickets, but they give you a very unique experience over their interface and how you browse for flights that you cannot find anywhere else. So you have to find a way to productify your experience and give that to the user as a benefit that he will not find in the product source site. If you manage to do that, and if you manage to be different enough, either providing extra benefit for the user or a different experience or anything that enhances the user happiness with the product, I think you have enough added value. Well, then the tricky part is to keep up with that. Like, it's not like you do it once and then you are set for life. No, you have to keep on working in that, because next year the next affiliate bunch of affiliates that are going to show up are going to try to do the same what you are doing, and your product is going to look, not as much awesome as it would look in the first. As to be the first one to appear. So you have to keep up with that pace, and that's the difficult part, to keep up with the innovation and to keep up with the innovating experience and giving benefits to the users. So if I would give give advice to affiliates, would be that, like, see your business as you want to productify something. And also, one thing that I find very common on affiliates is that they want to be affiliates of everything instead of focusing in one thing only and doing one thing really well. Like, okay, I want to be affiliate for just airline tickets, and I'm going to do that really well. Many affiliates choose to do everything. They do airline tickets, they do hotel bookings, they do whatever it comes as that can be affiliated. So that's another mistake, not having focus.
Yeah, and I totally agree, Pedro, with what you. Oh, sorry, Sash. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I've got a small number of clients with really sort of large affiliate networks, and it's like fighting the tide. I've made videos, I've talked to people, I've been instrumental in people actually changing their affiliate setup and just getting it through to people is really, really tough. So hopefully it coming straight from Google now is going to make people look up.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 quick questions last. Barry wants to ask one really fast one, and then I've got one last question.
Barry,
so go ahead,
looking happy.
All right, so my big question is, who's going to take the blame at Google when algorithms are released? I think it should be Gary, but whatever you think.
I don't know. Well, let's see. Gary's not here, so John, do you think? No. Oh, Barry, I was hoping that we weren't going to get to this question. I was trying to think of a really snarky comeback to this, but yeah, I don't know. Like, if we're making improvements to make things better for users, and that's and someone's upset about that, maybe they should try taking the blame a little bit. I don't know.
This had to be discussed, right? No.
Oh, who wants to be the punching bag? Yeah.
Matt was taking the lead.
That's what Matt said. When he was leaving. Yeah, who wants to be? Yeah, he wants to be. No, he didn't really say this. But nobody raised their hand.
All right, so last question.
But I guess maybe we'll just make sure all the algorithmic changes are awesome and there's nothing to complain about.
There is
and if there are things to complain about, then bringing that up to us is definitely legitimate. I mean, it's not that we don't want to hear about complaints. It's we need that feedback as well. So if there's something going wrong, tell us about it.
Yeah.
The thing is that I mean, I hate to be the one to break this, but most people are now looking to John Mueller because he's so public and so open and out front, and I have a feeling that the fall guy is going to be him.
Okay, so last question from me. So everybody, it seems to me I deal with a lot of sites lately that have been either hacked or whatever, and every site that I deal with that people come to contact me on, they all have Google Analytics. Every noob out there, it seems like, has analytics because they just know about it somehow. And that's awesome. But what they don't know about is Google Webmaster Tools. And when they sign up for analytics, how hard would it be to actually just force opt them into that platform of Webmaster Tools?
I think force opting is possibly a little bit too draconian, but it's certainly something I've mentioned in the past as well.
It's definitely something we've talked about with the team, and I think the more we can recognize when sites are hacked, the more it's important that we can get this information to webmasters. At the moment, we don't recognize all kinds of hacked sites, so it's not that we could catch everything before anyone externally would ever catch it. So if you're a webmaster, it always makes sense to kind of stay on top of things and set up things like Google Alerts. There's a bunch of stuff that was also published on the Google Plus page a while back with tips to kind of protect yourself and watch out for hacking. So there's a lot of stuff that webmasters can do proactively, and we're trying to find a way to kind of push it to them as well.
Yeah, I think maybe even hiding something in there where they sign up, they get their code and everything like that, and then it's automatically the checkbox is clicked for sign me up for Google Webmaster Tools. It just automatically select the box for them. Every other website does it. Would you like to receive email updates? They check the box for me.
Well, if you do it,
I don't know. We have to give people the choice to do whatever they want.
I think Adobe does it a really good way with Flash updates. They give you the checkbox, but they don't auto-check it, right? They're like, here's the Flash update. Here's other Adobe product stuff. If you click on this checkbox, then you'll get it. But they have it. It's really clean because they just have. That's the additional value add that you can get, but they're not pre-opting you in. But they at least make it forefront that there's something of additional value that you may not have been aware of.
All right. Well, cool. Hey, John, did you have any last questions for us? I asked Wiz if he had one. He asked it. Did you have one for us?
Not really. Where are you planning to do your 200th?
If I'm alive then, maybe I'll fly to Europe and do it out of Zurich for the hell of it.
I think that'll definitely have to be done somewhere pretty special. I vote Google just flies us all to Mountain View, but maybe that's just me.
Well, that's not fair. I'm only 20 miles away.
I think we do it in
too bad for you.
Backyard. I heard Cyprus is kind of nice.
All right.
Yeah, Mancot's barbecue hangout. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Well, and like always, if you guys do have questions for people who are viewing, please go to the Webmaster forum, search forums. Those are great places to ask questions. There's lots of people in there that'll be willing to answer your questions and to help you. Take everything with a grain of salt. There's going to be some people that will be glad to help you out in there. And please come back next week. If you want to, subscribe to Helpdesk Hangouts on YouTube, and you'll never miss this Hangout. I know there's a lot of people who watch these every week. And we do appreciate that. And if you have questions, feel free to ask anytime. We'll be glad to answer them. And as always, do me a favor, go outside, get away from your computers, and go enjoy outside. Don't stay on your computer all weekend. With that, thank you very much, Wiz and John and everyone else for joining us.
Thank you.
You don't have to leave yet.
Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast. You guys have a good night.
Catch you later.